Welcome to the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast.
You also have very strong beliefs around, and I was going to say what you eat, but it's not just what you eat anymore. It's the whole lifestyle, which is the whole vegan movement. But that wasn't always the case, was it?
No, I'm South African, Will. I was born with a piece of meat in my mouth.
Yeah. So at what point was, I want to know the moment. What was the moment where you just went, no more?
So if people don't know, hopefully most people know this, that awareness and being aware of anything is the first step to changing something. If you're not aware, you'll never change, or you're aware that you need to change. For example, someone can smoke their whole life and they don't see, or they're not truly aware of how important it is for you to stop until something comes along and changes that. A near-death experience, a heart attack, or you are sitting at home smoking, and your daughter tugs on your leg and starts crying, and you say, "Why are you crying?" And your daughter says, "Oh, please stop smoking. I don't want you to die." Now all of a sudden your awareness is like, you've learned something new, or you've seen a different perspective, which has now made you more aware, and now you act from that place of newfound awareness. So for me, I just wasn't aware. Without judging anyone, I just wasn't aware. I just knew what I knew, right? You know that saying in personal development, you don't know what you don't know. But because I've always been a student, I never turn away learning. So early 30s, I started to learn about animal cruelty, about environmental impacts from agriculture, from athletes that were plant-based and how they were doing incredible, crazy things in the world. So every single time I found a little bit of evidence that you don't need to eat meat. Whether it's our jaws go sideways, which means we're meant to be grinding food, not like a predator that can't move their jaw, whatever. There's all these stories for why we should eat meat and why we shouldn't eat meat. But what happened was, because I just stayed open, non-judgmental, purely objective studying and learning, my awareness for going plant-based went so high or the evidence for going plant-based became so high that, like in a courtroom, when you have so much evidence, what happens to that belief? What do they call it in a courtroom? They call it a conviction. They say without any reasonable doubt. There's so much evidence that there is no reasonable doubt that this is the truth, or that this is the way. So I started to watch documentaries, speak to people, interview athletes. I even interviewed the producer and director, Sean Monson, of the most famous vegan documentary ever made, called Earthlings, which was very traumatic, very, very traumatic thing to watch. And, I just kept studying and studying and studying. And it didn't have an intention until one day I woke up with all this awareness that I couldn't ignore the evidence anymore. And I became a vegetarian. And well, let me tell you, that was a stretch for me, because I started to miss steak and pepper sauce and fries. I started to miss fish and chips. And I started to miss all these things that I'd known my whole life. But because I kept staying in momentum in being a student, my awareness kept going higher and higher, and my evidence kept stacking up and stacking up and stacking up, until it got to the point that I couldn't just remain a vegetarian. I knew, as Lisa Nichols would say, I knew that I could thrive in life without being involved in murdering any beings, that I could live a life where my consumption wasn't harming someone else. And I just went vegan 3.5 years ago, and I've never looked back.
Love that. And obviously all throughout, I'm curious, and this is just a little bit of a side point because I've never asked you the question, but throughout all your time when you were when you were recovering from your accident last year, was there any point where doctors would say, no, you needed meat protein, or did they just totally respect the fact that you're a vegan? And
never once.
Yeah.
Actually, I took a picture because when I'm fully healed, I'm still waiting for surgery to have some metal removed from my body in my leg. When I'm fully healed and I get back to being this insane athlete, like doing these extreme things, I want to show a picture, which was when I was in hospital. On my whiteboard said, I can't remember the exact words, but they had written in pen for the people serving food every day, vegan food only. And I just remember lying there looking at that sign every day. Once I got out of intensive care into a private room in a ward, I remember looking at that every day and thinking, I can't wait to show the world what is possible. But no, the doctors never ever mentioned my diet. Also, I didn't think that they did because of my mindset and me trying to move my toe every day and then my foot, and I just made miraculous progress. So no one ever questioned the speed at which I was progressing. Probably if it was taking me a long time to recover, they probably would have said, well, what are you eating?
You can find the full episodes of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast here on YouTube, on iTunes, Spotify, and all other major podcast platforms.